GG's. I'm Trek with 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto. If you don't know, this is the segment where I, Trek with 2Ks, cover crypto news that happens over the weekend while you're out living your life. Why? Because I'm just that much into this whole blockchain crypto space. And as we do here on the Gentleman of Crypto channel, is basically, bringing the information out here to the community and letting y'all know what's going on. We keep the receipts. So I'm gonna jump into these stories kind of quick because there are a number of things that happened. Granted, this is not all of the things that happened, but there were a number of things that happened from Friday to this late Sunday night / early Monday morning. Case in point, for those of you who are into the whole NFT wave, the Aku Ethereum NFT launch ends with a 34 million locked in flawed smart contract. So I remember when this first kind of came out, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but it was kind of, on the radar. And so you have it that Aku was a character made by, what's his name? It's a baseball dude. What's the baseball dude's name? Major League Baseball, Makai Johnson. And it was basically a character that he made up that he got inspired by one of his nephews who asked him a question about stuff. The basic idea of what happened here is that they launched a NFT. Someone in Twitter said something about it. They got basically talked down, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no issue here with the smart contract. And then later on, another user who was being identified as user 221, and I don't know, 5. There might be a whole kind of number referencing, but whatever. But nonetheless, they said, hey, well, since you guys didn't look to fix this exploit that is in your code, I'm going to take advantage and show you why you should have actually listened to the person who told you the first time that there was something wrong. Arguably, I wonder if this is actually the same person as the initial person named Hassan who warned them about the issue. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a coder, right? I'm just some guy on the internet. But nonetheless, it happens that the guy, the person or persons, user 221, ends up taking advantage of the exploit within the smart contract, but then does the, all right, I'm gonna, give back the stuff. It is what it is. I just wanted to show y'all that this could be done. There was a issue. What then happens is technically the way that the smart contract was set up, it had another flaw in it that there was a multiple minting thing that happened. And basically that ended up messing up the whole contract and freezing $34 million. What I find more amazing is that they actually had the 34 million or some amount of money left or sitting around to be able to give back the people who had put the money in already. Hey, we're going to be able to refund you what you spent out, which I'm just kind of wondering, where did you get the money from? How was that whole thing on the back end? But again, I didn't pay attention to this whole project. I do know it did have this buzz thing going on. I think it was also big of Johnson, who's the creator idea guy behind it, to actually apologize publicly. Although I will say, with the way that this reads, this sounds more like the PR person told him what to say. So it might not even be 100% or halfway sincere, other than you just got caught with egg on your face. And crypto Twitter can be ruthless. Bottom line, crypto Twitter can be ruthless. And so he learned his lesson, right? Hopefully he learned his lesson. Hopefully they get this project on track. But yeah, that's it on that one. Jumping on to the next thing. New York, yo, when I hear stories of crypto related things come out of New York, I just get annoyed and disheartened because it's the state is saying one thing, and then Adams, who's the New York City mayor, is saying something else. And this is bro, you don't even know what you're talking about. Your people who are on your PR team, they're arguably, they don't know what they're talking about. Bottom line, all right, let me get into this story, right? So basically, there's a legislation bill that's being put through about putting a moratorium on mining, right? Mind you, New York is about to go into its whole election cycle. So there's a whole nother thing going on with that part of the scene. There's a whole nother thing going on with who's pushing what line, and I'm talking about at the state level for governor level stuff. Um, and so X amount of what comes out of the New York City mayor's mouth or his camp isn't necessarily reflective or if even on par or connected with what is going on at the governor's level, right? In this scenario, basically, there's the who was it? There's the assembly person. Yeah, sorry, name. Yeah, there's another article that I was looking at. But the bottom line is they want to basically put a moratorium on proof of work mining. And at the at the end of the day, a lot of the folks who are doing the jibber jabbing, they don't understand the position of how the security mechanism of proof of work works in relation to minting or creating cryptocurrencies. And so they see it as something that you can just pull apart and throw away. In general, that's the view that a lot of these folks have. They don't understand the value of that particular function and mechanism, right? And so here you have it. This person comes up and says, hey, we want to do this bill thing. It's being circulated around New York State for itself. Adams, in regards to the craziness that he comes up with, again, like the other issue is that he started off being like pro it, then he made the whole thing about him having the getting his first checks in Ethereum and Bitcoin. I still have yet to understand how that actually played out because I think all he did was just take it in on the front end as crypto and then cashed out on the back end like immediately. But I haven't actually dug in and done the homework on it. So I'm not gonna lie that I don't know the details on that. But yeah. And so um the thing that gets it here is that he says one thing publicly, but then there's a whole nother thing going on um, in what's actually being done, and he flip flops on it. So something like what was it during his campaign trail? He was making the towards the end of it. It was like, hey, we're gonna make New York City the Bitcoin capital, right? And it was like, what are you talking about? It doesn't work like that. You can't be independent of what's going on with the state. If the state is looking to make this whole moratorium thing on using old power plant facilities to be the power supply for mining facilities, right? What are you talking about? It's how I'm wording this and how I'm looking at it. Nonetheless, this came out over the weekend. It hasn't been made into full official bill or anything yet, but again, the what is it? The mayor is saying stuff that he's saying. There's an advocacy group called Blockchain Association that they pushed out something for people to vote no on this particular bill thing. I don't know what the traction on it is, honestly, because I didn't look into it that well. Ironically enough, I am actually in New York, but no one's talking about this. And these are the things that fly under the radar because we out here living life on the weekends and doing what we do, right? What is going on? Why am I freezing? Come on. All right, I'm jumping into the next story. Sorry, the laptop's acted out. All right, jumping into the next story. So another New York senator wants to criminalize rug pulls and crypto fraud. Now, in the spirit of I get your intention, but understanding how legislation works to then do these creep mode effects into encroaching into certain areas of people's lives and like these unintended consequences, I think that this sounds good on paper, but what it's going to look like in operation, it's it has the potential to be very ugly. And the bottom line is Senator Kevin Thompson is seeking to provide prosecutors with a clear legal framework against crypto agents, framework against crypto crimes that align with the spirit of blockchain while combating fraud. I read this article twice. There's no explanation of what they actually mean by the spirit of blockchain. Not to mention the fact that you're even wording it that way, spirit of blockchain. When was there ever a spirit of blockchain? I don't know. I ain't been here from the '09 era, but I think I've been here long enough to know I've never heard anyone reference the spirit of blockchain. Just saying. So basically here's some things in the bill that they're talking about, like trying to make it into an official law thing of. So provides important definitions, creates penalties that apply to everyone, uh, sorry, apply to every provision of the act, creates a crime of virtuous token fraud or illegal rug pulls, right? But the way that they define what the illegal rug pull is, that's a funky part that I can just see going totally wrong. And then the other part is like they're looking to target developers, right? So like let's say that the CEO person by chance happened to be the one who exited out and rug pulled and disappeared before anybody realized anything was up. But the developers were the ones who were the last ones to like move. If they get touched, like you can basically have the rug pull happen, and then it can be argued that, well, you were the developer who did the code. How did you not see what was going on? So now you held responsible for it. That's me throwing out a wild ass left, kind of scenario on it. But prosecutors be making a career off of way less and way more and more speculative shit than that. Like if you know anything about how that side of the world works and being a DA and like all of that stuff. But anywho, point being is this person's looking to do it. It's here in New York. New York, I don't know, like y'all are on this whole trail of doing stuff that honestly is either going to hurt how the industry would or could potentially grow in the state of New York, as well as it's just going to keep certain businesses out of New York, and as well as it's going to turn some people's lives upside down in New York if you're in the crypto space. That's at least how I look at it. But nonetheless, I'm just some guy on the internet. Just remember that this ain't financial advice. The other thing that I thought was interesting in this story is this lady here, Republican Norma Torres, who basically put in a introduced a bill that would like say, hey, we need to examine the El Salvador situation to see how the US will be able to deal with it as far as our economic side. I'm gonna read this part for y'all because this is a double speak kind of situation here. El Salvador is an independent democracy and we respect its right to self-sovereign. But the United States must have a plan in place to protect our financial system from risk of this decision. What's really being said is if El Salvador gets to work the way they want independently without having to deal with the IMF and having the American or North or Western influence in their economy, in their government, when let's say the recession that I hear being mentioned now happening, when it gets publicly acknowledged and things are going haywire in the American economy, the Latin American economy, the European economy, the global economy, they won't be able to um, do what they do now with the system of like we can just fix the numbers because we can control how the system works because we have our hands in everything. If you don't have your hands in El Salvador's economy, you can't actually control it the way you can control what's local here in the US. That's my interpretation of this. I could be totally wrong. If you agree or disagree with me, say something in the comments. If what I'm saying is like really left field and me talking out my ass, you can even vote down. I'm okay with that. Why? Because I'm just some guy on the internet who happens to read a lot of crypto news. And if you don't know about the Gentleman of Crypto as like the whole channel itself, we collect a lot of receipts and we go back a number of years. So just saying, again, I could be wrong, but we'll see what happens in a couple of months or come next year, right? Now, moving on to the next story. What was the other one? Oh, this one right here. I seen this one pop up on Twitter, and I wasn't initially sure what was going on because uh, the basic idea was someone, and I'm gonna get into the thing of like a user from some account, and I'm gonna show you that in a minute, say, hey, it looks like accounts that are public addresses that are connected to Microstrategy are selling Bitcoin. So that was like the thing to talk about on crypto Twitter. And X amount of folks was like, yo, what's going on? But then it turns out, and this is really turning into a nothing burger, is that the person, where's the name? Da, 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 yeah, so this person, the CEO of Alt Season, basically, okay, arguably they jumped the gun and they didn't do their due diligence in looking back far enough on the wallet addresses, because these two wallet addresses that they show here, yes, they have transactions that are happening, and yes, they are being connected to centralized exchanges for sell-off, but somebody else was doing the digging, and what they realized basically was the where it started off, the amount of Bitcoin that was in the original public address was way more than what MicroStrategy had, and it was in a whole year before. So either MicroStrategy was doing things before the publicly acknowledged it in regards to Michael Saylor saying anything, or it was actually a whole different account that was selling off this Bitcoin, which then brings into the question, who does that account belong to? I don't know. I didn't look that far into the story, but I definitely thought it was interesting to check out what was going on with this. Again, MicroStrategy is not actually selling off its cryptocurrency, or at least that's how it looks right now. So Michael Saylor has diamond hands, apparently. I mean, good thing, bad thing, I don't know. But we're moving on to the next story, right? And so this next one, Ripple agrees to extend case until 2022 end. Now, I had recently covered a story over on CBTV, that's Crypto Blood TV, and talking about how the presiding judge over the case basically gave them a small victory in some evidence that the SEC wanted to have used in the case. But the point here in regards to this is that they mentioned that in this article, but the bigger thing to me is that one, the schedule of how they talked about extending it means that it really goes into 2023. And I brought this point up, and I've been thinking about this a little bit more as far as like the case of Ripple and the SEC. And I don't think it's going to end in a 100% win. What I think will happen, and I'm no lawyer, so don't take it that way, but looking at the track record of what I've seen going on with other crypto related companies and individuals in the space, there's never a 100% win when you get to walk away. You're gonna have to pay up some money, right? Couple 100,000. Let's go down the list of folks, right? There's what happened with Reggie Middleton. There's what happened with Arthur Hayes. There's what happened with the dude from Ether Delta, right? Everybody paid up money. Everybody got to walk away. And so I think that there'll be something along that lines of Ripple's definitely going to pay money. They're going to get to still walk away as a business. And I'm just throwing out this projection of those two things. I don't see an 100% loss. And when I say 100% loss, 100% loss is like, hey, you guys have to totally shut down your company, and you can't, or shut down the company, or you can still keep the company, but you can't run any of the products that you have. I don't see that happening. But nonetheless, I'm just some dude on the internet, and we'll see how it plays out down the road. But the bottom line is that they agreed to have the case run longer. I kind of find that weird that they agreed to do that out of the clear blue, kind of too, because it was literally just the other day that the judge's ruling on excluding or not excluding the information came out, like not even a full 3 weeks ago. So I don't know, like this, on the front, it looks kind of weird that both the prosecution and the defendants, I was like, yeah, let's just extend this out. We'll come back on this at the end of the year. Like, we're good. I don't know, but I'm no lawyer. I'm just some guy on the outside looking in, right? Moving on to the next story. So here you have it. Dogecoin sent via radio Doge for the first time. So I read this article and I had to make sure I was understanding what was going on. I'm gonna read this black part for y'all. So the core Doge development team has successfully sent a Doge payment 100 miles via radio waves. The development means that Dogecoin could be used to send payments to remote areas where there is no traditional infrastructure. The recipient used a Starlink internet connection to relay the transfer to relay the transfer to the Dogecoin mainnet, meaning an internet connection was still needed to complete the transaction. Now, here's the funny thing about this technology. Oh God, what is it called? It's not phone freaking, but phone freaking is a whole like 70s, 60s, 80s thing. But nonetheless, in Ghana, they've been using this technology in their banking system in like some of the remote villages and stuff like that for like a number of years. And I'm talking like pre-COVID, the whole earlier to before C-19. Because when did I first find out about that? Like maybe like 2018 is when I first found out about that technology that the that are used as far as like if you work for a place and so for you to get your money from the bank, you just go with your phone, put it next to the speaker. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly how this system works, but I do think from a tech point and as far as like an adoption and a way of like utility and being used, yeah, this is a come up for Doge. Like, granted, it's not that the technology is new. It's just that you're combining something that's already been around and giving it a new functional utility. That's a dope move. I mean, for those of you who hold Doge, this might be a win for you in regards to like how the adoption thing looks. I'm just saying, um, big move for them, right? What was the other thing? And then they kind of run into this whole other part of like what they're calling it, which is called the Lib Dogecoin. I think the name is so stupid, honestly. And so the name is stupid, but they're making a whole other thing of, hey, we're gonna standardize the Doge documentation. We're gonna have community proof of stake. I'm not gonna hold my tongue on this one. I think the community proof of stake thing is stupid, but that's just me. I do think that they should have more of a standardization in regards to how the documentation works. Yeah, the scaling layer two stuff for point of sale, that makes sense too. Um, Radio enabled nodes, which basically is the same thing that helium's doing. So really, like, do we really need to reinvent the wheel? I don't know. If it's a better wheel, I don't, yeah, but do you really invent a better wheel? Like nothing. Anywho, I don't want to run down that rabbit hole. The point being is that it seems like Doge is making some come up on the tech side, and we'll see how this plays out over the coming months, weeks, and years. Um, I got a couple more stories to run through. Like I said, it's a number of things that caught my attention. It doesn't mean that everything that I'm showing here is what it is. You can definitely go to these different news sites that I'm going to and find other stuff going on. Again, this is looking at like from afternoon, evening, Friday into like late Sunday night / early Monday morning. And so it's a number of things, man. And I'm just trying to catch these things that probably might interest somebody one way or the other, whether, especially like if you're into boxing, if you're into NFT, if you paid attention to the legal stuff, it's a number of things that happened in the last 72 hours that came out at least, right? So this joint right here with Floyd Mayweather and Don Moore, just let's go on this first line right here. The world's first ever non-fungible token sporting event will take place in Dubai at the Barj Al Arab, which I have no idea what that exactly is, but nonetheless, it's a thing, right? So here's the bottom line. It's happening in the Middle East. This is a money play. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it actually is interesting how they're doing it. This is actually a big look and come up for Rarible. Granted, this whole thing is in the ecosystem of Ethereum, so the gas fees is gonna be out the ass on this one, right? But this is a come up for them. Like this is really a come up. What I also thought was interesting was how they're gonna do it as far as like, hey, you have the NFT and it's an NFT in your wallet. There's a couple of technical backend things I kind of wonder, but nonetheless, it's having an actual NFT that will be in your MetaMask wallet, and then the website that you have to use to view the fight is able to talk with the MetaMask. So that way, it validates and verifies that you actually do have the NFT that gives you access to the website to view the fight. I wonder though, because there are other digital things that come with this NFT that you get for purchasing the fight ticket. There's other things that come with it. What will it be for the secondary market? Because there's like some clips and some other whatever things going on with it. So that's going to be another interesting thing to find out. What what is the secondary market that develops off of this one event, and then what does that mean for the people who are like, well, how do we figure out how to redo? Is this going to be a new trend and wave for sporting events or any kind of event that you could do off of the NFT thing like that? So yeah, also then a come up for MetaMask. Not gonna lie, this is gonna be a come up for MetaMask too. So Rarible and MetaMask definitely making out on this move right here. Down to the last two stories. We're rolling. I'm definitely running longer than the 18 minutes today. Sorry about that. But like I said, a number of things went on that I think should be brought to people's attention. So US state of Tennessee is looking for vendors to help them manage unclaimed crypto. When I first read this, I thought it was like, oh snap, y'all got crypto just sitting somehow in your treasury, in your the governor's bank chest thing, whatever. And it turns out what they're really doing is, so let me read the black line. The US state of Tennessee is searching for contractors to manage cryptocurrency on its behalf. A request for proposal with a Thursday deadline asks prospective suppliers to explain to the Tennessee Department of Treasury how they would handle virtual currencies such as Bitcoin for the state. So arguably you're being asked to be a fiduciary as far as like you're going to be responsible for it. But nonetheless, the point of what's going on in this is that they realize they collect they have X amount of property unclaimed. And since we're saying in this particular case that crypto is a property and they realize it's in the billions for how much stuff they have to sort out, well, what happens when we start getting the crypto side of stuff? So they're being preemptive in what they're looking to do, which I think is arguably a good thing. So, I mean, if you have the business set up and the knowledge know-how, this could definitely be a good deal for you as a startup company or as an established company that deals in accounting or compliance or finance and stuff like that. This could be a move right here as a consultant play. And you probably don't even have to actually live in the state. It doesn't say anything about it here in the article, but just saying, like this is all digital stuff, right? So do you really need to live in the state? But it might be nice in Tennessee. I don't know. I haven't been to that state. They also mentioned some stuff at the bottom about how they've been, Tennessee lawmaker Jason Powell promised a new bill that would allow the state to invest into cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens. Like, bro, you're going kind of far on that one right there. You don't need to do all of the fancy stuff. Just keep it to the basics. But, luckily it's only a bill. All right, last thing being, and here we are on this story caught me. I forgot how I found this one. I think it was on Twitter or something like that. Nonetheless, the Central African Republic has become the first country in Africa to adopt Bitcoin as a payment currency. So when I first read this, I was like, wait, what? So Central African Republic is an actual country. If you have not been to the continent, if you have not been outside of the US, like, I'm just letting you know, it is an actual country. I didn't read it wrong. They didn't type it wrong. I made sure and I looked and it was like, okay, let me see what this country actually is. It's there. This is a very big move for what is going on within Africa. Granted, their version of how they're going to adopt and making the payment and the legal structure of it, it's going to be a kind of work in progress as far as how to fine tune it for their market, for their region. I don't know how, or at least it isn't made necessarily clear in this particular article, how that's going to be dealt with in relation to like other countries like Nigeria or Ghana or South Africa that already have like the unsanctioned government things in relation to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies going on. But time will tell. Nonetheless, first African country to do it is the Central African Republic, and it's in the history books now as far as the adoption of cryptocurrencies goes. So Yeah, last story. That's what it is. Other than that, y'all, I'm gonna close it out. Again, my name is Shrek with 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto. Again, not all of the stories, but a number of things did catch my attention. This is the Gentleman of Crypto channel. If you do not know, we have a host of segments on, so definitely look out for what's going on with us during the week. Check out the website. And again, if I said something that didn't make sense, or if I said something where I was talking out my ass, and you're like, yo, I don't even agree with this dude, guess what? If you thumbs it down, I'm still okay with that. But if you do like what I said, thumbs it up, definitely share it, and definitely leave a comment. Other than that, y'all have a good week. And yeah, one.